Hi you guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about how I learned how to be alone, and I want to talk about the difference between being lonely and alone. And I'm going to make a Faith Friday video about this as well, but today's video is just going to be some practical steps that I took as a single woman on how to learn to be alone and not lonely. But first, welcome to my channel. I'm Jo. I am a certified personal trainer. I'm a mindset coach. I'm a nutrition and health life coach. And I teach men and women how to release their emotional attachment to food, their bodies, raise their confidence, change their mindset so they can change their life. And unfortunately, I guess, some of the things that come up when someone is starting their health and fitness journey is that it can be very isolating and it can feel very lonely. And so naturally, I tend to have these conversations about all these random topics that have nothing to do with health and fitness. And so here's one of them. Being lonely, being alone, learning to do things alone. I'm going to talk to you guys about how I learned to do this. Number one, I want you to know that I come from a family of 10. I have 7 siblings. 5 sisters and 2 brothers. And so being alone was something that I never really got as a child, right? Because there's just constantly people around. And then you go to college and then you start your life and you have to make friends and this whole thing. And some of us, we feel alone when we don't have other people around, right? And so that was the first thing for me was, okay, if I don't have people around and I'm by myself, it can seem and feel very lonely. And the first thing you should know is that number one, you're not alone, right? If you are under normal circumstances, you have family, friends, cousins, coworkers, clients. There are people, now they may not be your friends and they might not be close to you, but you are not alone. And so remember to think about what it truly means to be alone. If I'm truly alone, I'm in a desert with no animals, nothing else, just me in this like plain of deserts. And so the idea that I'm alone, no, there's people all around you. They don't have to be your people, but there are people all around you. So you're not technically alone. What you might be feeling is loneliness. And loneliness might be that lack of connection that you're trying to find with other people. So the first thing I did when learning how to be alone is I journaled a lot. One of the reasons why sometimes people don't want to be alone is because they don't want to actually figure out what's going on up here. And if you're in your head, the best thing you can do is get the thoughts that are in your head out on paper. And I actually don't mean typing. There is a very different physiological response that happens when you write things out. I did a ton of journaling because there was a lot going on up there. And a lot of times I would drown out the thoughts with exercise, food, other people, boyfriends, etc., trying not to deal with the things that were going on in my head. And when I finally decided that I was going to learn how to be alone, I journaled. I journaled a lot. I wrote down everything. And a lot of times people are scared. I remember when I started writing on Instagram that I journaled, someone was like, aren't you afraid of people reading it? Yeah, I was. I really, really was, especially because some of the stuff that came up was just hurtful. It just wasn't kind. It was hurtful. But I needed to get it out. I had to write it out, and it's not like I was saying it to a person. So I felt okay about that. So I journaled a lot. The second thing I started to do was, I know this sounds crazy, but I would go out to places by myself. So, I took myself to the movies. I took myself to dinner. I had a friend from college who used to do this all the time, and I thought she was crazy, but she was not. I took myself to dinner all the time, and I let myself feel the stares of people being like, oh, is she meeting someone? I let myself feel weird. I was like, it's okay. You're totally allowed to go out by yourself. And can I just say, like, if I was a man, I don't know that people would feel the same way about me being out to dinner by myself, but I do think, there's something about a woman being by herself that triggers people. So I did that. I went out by myself. I did a lot of like self like pampering. So I would go get massages. I would go to the nail salon, just learning how to just sit with myself. And even though there were other people around, which helped, I wasn't doing it with friends. And so I just made it a point to do things that I enjoyed by myself. The third thing I did was I got out of my comfort zone. So I took guitar lessons, I took online courses, I hired coaches for myself. I went to places, I went hiking by myself, so that I could just try new things, associate new exciting things with being alone. Because what I'm basically trying to train my brain to do is to associate being alone with positivity. Right now we have a negative, like being alone is a negative connotation. It's like, if you're alone, you have to be sad and lonely. But loneliness means that you don't have a connection with anything. It means that you don't have, you're not feeling whole, right? But you can feel lonely in relationships. You can feel lonely in friendships. You can feel lonely at home. So it's not about the people that you're with. It's about what is your internal feeling when you are by yourself. And you do have to train yourself to be content without the presence of other people. Loneliness says, I can only be happy when there are people around. Not realizing that people can be around and you can still be lonely. Okay? So I can be alone and lonely, or I can be lonely and with other people. I can also be alone and not lonely. Okay? Loneliness is this longing and searching for something to fill the void. And when you learn to be alone, you don't need that. You learn to be okay with nothing. Okay? Now, if you're a believer, this is where the scripture is constantly telling us that you are not alone. You are not alone. Okay. Can we talk about Jonah real quick? This is going to be another Faith Friday video. Like, I'll have to add this to my Faith Friday video. But like, can we talk about Jonah real quick? People are like, I'm alone. I'm like, but you're not in the belly of a whale. So I think you're all right. I think you're all right. And not to be, I don't want to say that, in too much jest, but because I do understand the feeling of like, I don't have any friends. Am I ever going to get married? Am I ever going to have there's all these spiraling thoughts that can happen when you're alone. But finding contentment, if you think that something else is going to bring you out of loneliness or something else is going to bring you out of feeling alone, you are incorrect. Because if you can't feel contentment without something, you will not be able to feel contentment with it. Contentment is a state of being. Feeling lonely is a state of being. So you have to change your idea of what it means to be lonely. Lonely to me is being in the belly of the whale. Lonely to me is being in a desert without hope, with zero hope of the future. As long as you're still breathing, there's hope in the future. So those are two very different things. All right. So let me just review the things that I did to help myself to stop feeling so lonely and alone. Number one, I journaled. Journaled everything, because when you don't want to be alone, it's typically because you don't want to be with your thoughts. You don't want to be with your own mind because you're afraid of what's going to happen, or you're people dependent. Journal. Number two, went out and found things to do that I enjoyed. Number three, got out of my comfort zone, tried new things, brought a different level of exhilaration to my life to connect being alone with positive things. Number four, I changed my definition of lonely. What does it actually mean to be lonely? I thought, for me, the worst thing is on this earth is probably being in the belly of a whale or being in the desert with literally nobody around, literally, right? And if you're a believer, do you actually believe that you're never alone? Do you actually believe that? Or is that just something that you read and go, oh, okay. All right. You guys, if you are struggling with your mindset around food, exercise, health, well-being, goals, you can go ahead and grab my mindset makeover that's linked in the description box below. These are some of the things that I address in there. It's got tons of journal prompts, tons of worksheets on how to change your mindset so that you can change your life, including loneliness and insecurity. So if that's something that you think will be useful to you, go ahead and click that in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.